So reintroduce yourself to the idiots in the audience.
Yeah,
and people
hi.
who recently arrived.
I'm Naomi. I go by NominalNaomi on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok. I mostly talk about a lot of queer issues and finally getting out doing some politics in person, which is super important. Like all the stuff we do online, I feel like kind of translating that in-person engagement, going out, doing something with it, touching grass, meeting friends. This is huge, and it's amazing for you and for the movement.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people in here before they all cleared out for canvassing. Right now, they're busting their asses on the street.
Oh, yeah.
in the heat. We're in here. I wouldn't say this room is very well air conditioned, though, so we are still suffering a little bit in solidarity.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've been wiping sweat off my brow like every 3 minutes. I wanted to ask, by the way, I'm delighted to speak to you in something of a publicized capacity, because I wanted to ask, and let me know if you don't want to talk about it. By the way,
go for it.
The hot water you were in a little while ago. See, I wanted to talk to you about it, like when it was happening, but I know my involvement in any kind of public drama is just a multiplier. It's a force multiplier that so usually I try to not, because I don't want to, but like, you made a lot of people really angry for being completely correct.
Yeah, I was genuinely amazed at like how much outrage, like death threats, people trying to dox me, like all of these people trying to attack me for like doing a traditional family thing within like a queer existence.
Do you want to explain what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, for the idiots in the audience and people who weren't.
For those that aren't like caught up on the situation, I went viral a couple months back because I am a trans woman and I breastfed my child, worked with my doctors to be able to induce lactation, which trans women can do, by the way, in case people didn't know. And I talked about it online, talked about like, all of like the studies we have behind this, how like we're kind of like figuring this out within the medical community, medical research, and conservatives just lost their minds about it. I had an episode about me on the Matt Walsh show, on the Tim Pool show, and just like fighting for my life, trying to...
And not just conservatives too, a lot of the weird like non-specific discomfort of so-called progressives who were like, and like what are they angry about? No one knows. To this day, nobody knows. But like, a vibes thing.
Yeah.
I liked this. Well, no, I hated the harassment you got. I liked it as an example because so much of the trans argument, people talk about biology or whatever, which to me, frankly, in most cases is tangential to the broader issue of like identity and like epistemology of the words we use.
And that's not even to like mention how much they get wrong about like trans bodies and how much your biology is affected by hormones and stuff.
Yeah, they fail on every count.
Every count.
And on this count specifically, I mean, I was reading people who were like, well, actually, when trans women lactate, it's actually like magma. It was like what? Like insane, wild shit. And it's just a reminder, I guess, that like it is a spirit thing to a lot of these people because on the biology, even if you have them cornered on that, they will make up a new reality like entirely. You could like, it could be like you press a button and your body like to the chromosomal level transforms and they'd still be like, sorry, no, male soul or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to remember that because it invalidates everything they have to say. They have no ground in that argument.
Absolutely, and it's just like, it's so weird just seeing how like, what a different lens people are going to interpret the exact same action on if like a cis woman versus a trans woman engages in the exact same behavior, the exact same situation. And like the frame that people looks at that through, like it really highlights like how much we have this kind of like implicit conditioning to view trans women like as inherently different, disgusting compared to like cis women. Yeah,
I think that overall things have gotten better, like, because this happens every time a progressive cause happens, right? You have like trans people invented in 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
2015, Caitlyn Jenner, the first transgender, whatever, right? And you have the upswing in 2019 and 2018. You have like Vogue covers or whatever. It's like it's broadly celebrated, and now we're in the reactionary backlash. But I think, as bad as the negative attention has gotten, I still think that like your median American 11-year-old probably has a middle school friend who's non-binary these days.
Yeah, especially looking at the younger generations, like Gen Z especially. I mean, one of the things that was really telling for me is like you've seen all these like local school district hearings, congressional hearings about these anti-trans bills, and like all of the people that are coming out to attack trans rights
are 70.
Yeah, these boomers, these old people, like these brain-rotted, like dying, decaying boomers. And then like on the pro side, like you have all the, like, exclusively young people. And so, like, it really just shows how much we're moving forward, like, as a culture, as a society. The next generation, like, once we're, you know, what's been established, like, it's going to be a much better place for trans rights.
It's crazy too, because you know half of these boomer fucks who show up to the committee meetings now, back in like the Vietnam War, they were like, you know, I hear if you go to Thailand, you can see a lady with a wang, and they're, wow, some like 7-time photocopied image of one or whatever they keep in their like wallet on their purse. Like, I just like, it's, I don't know, the fetishism along with the demonization has always been like, it's like kind of a back and forth thing, I guess. So
I mean, that's just women though, right?
That's pretty true. That's true. There you go. I mean, there's the evidence. I think, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm pretty optimistic in the long run for how things come about. There was this one poll that showed people were freaking out about this. There was a poll that was like, okay, previously, we've known that the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatevers are the most progressive. But then this new poll came out, it was like, no, actually, Gen Alpha and like late Gen Z are significantly more reactionary than like millennials were, right? And it sparked a bunch of discourse. People were really upset. I was upset. Then you look at the methodology, fucking online polling.
Oh.
It was nothing. It was a nothing poll, but it led to like, I think it's led to a persistent belief that the backlash has begun and young people are all Andrew Tate watching, like Nick Merckx jerking off.
That's like, that kind of methodology has been so common in a lot of these studies, or like studies that have been tried to use to disparage.
They're worthless.
Yeah, no, like where they will spread them amongst themselves within these like really radical communities, and like you just have an insane sampling bias that the study is completely meaningless. Like, who wants to answer the study about, you know, radicalization? Like young neo-Nazis do, like, and they're the ones that flock to this kind of this poll.
If you have a poll like surveying people's opinions on transgender, obviously transphobes are more likely to click on it because they want to like angrily type out their. You know.
Yeah, and then there was like those kind of like old school conversion therapy style scientists that they specifically like did these kind of polls about trans people, but they specifically looked in like detransition communities, and within like fetishistic communities.
Still to this day, literally to like right now, this happens every year. There's like 5 new like trans destroying surveys, and every single one of them is like, we compared the mental health of post-transition trans people to cis people and found that transition doesn't work actually. And it's like, what are you doing, man? Go back to 5th grade. Hang up your diploma on the wall.
Right.
Fuck off.
And it's all by the same like 5 people. Like you have like the Kenneth Zucker, like the Michael Bailey, like the descendants of like Ray Blanchard. And like it's this really tight-knit group that just keep on pushing out these exact same flawed methodologies over and over. Like they know what they're doing.
I think that I think the evidence is in the eyes and ears. If you go outside, if you go to any major American city right now, there are, I mean, let's face it, you know, purple-haired queers walking around.
Absolutely.
In numbers that were simply not the case before. And I do want to be optimistic about it because people like to make Weimar comparisons, like Weimar was the most progressive city in Europe back during the 20s and so on. But if you look at the nitty-gritties, they're very incomparable, you know, like really incomparable, I think, in so many ways. I don't even want to try to list them. I think that like past a point, a lot of the Republicans' agenda, it just gets, it's too anti-human. People are just used to trans and non-binary people more than they used to be, at least. Like they're more accustomed. People are used to having the right to get an abortion, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe people in their 40s or 50s think, well, I wouldn't want an abortion, but then their daughter gets knocked up at 17. They're like, well, shit. And they see they can't get an abortion anymore, and that's an issue now.
Yeah, and consistently what we've seen within like kind of the data that assesses like how people leave these conservative movements is like when they have somebody in their life that becomes personally affected, or they become personally affected, like say the woman that loses the right to an abortion that she desperately needs, she has to travel across state lines in a horrible situation, somebody that has like a trans kid that they loved and supported, and then seeing like what's happening with these bills taking away their health care. Those are some of the major events in like radicalizing people away from like this increasingly, you know, rights taking away right-wing movement.
That's what I like about this country, genuinely. Not like, you know, there are a lot of reactionary countries out here where people are so homogenous in their areas. You get like a reactionary, like Serbia, for example, right? So why are Serbians and the Kosovars and the Albanians all, you know, you look at their neighborhoods, Albanians aren't living in like Serbia broadly, not anymore. They had a whole thing, you know? they're excised and the culture doesn't move forward, at least when it comes to relations between those groups, because they don't interact with each other. Meanwhile, in every major American city, you have like a rainbow of cultures and races and religions and backgrounds, all of which are proven to make people more progressive or at least tolerant of those groups. And I don't know. I mean, like, we're an immigration hub, we're a trade hub. I can't see a future where Trump and the like MAGA Gestapo succeed in doing anything as massive as like extricating or suppressing people who are so finely woven into the net. You know, they're not all living in the fringes anymore. It's not like the 50s where gay people just like cruised at train stops or whatever.
Yeah, and they know about this. Like, that's why you see like all these major conservative hubs being in these rural areas where you have like basically nothing but white people, and they don't have to interact with the consequences of these policies.
It used to be like it was the suburbs that were right-leaning, and now that's not even true anymore. It's shifting out. Now it's like, I think, like 55-45 on average in areas that are considered suburban, which is, considering how it was under Obama, where people were like, oh yeah, the suburbs, they're all white, you know, what are you gonna do? But now more minorities move out in the suburbs, the effect spreads. I'm telling you, eventually we're gonna get the great like racial plurality in every bumfuck 2000 pop town in Alabama, and it's going to be complete. You know, there are going to be purple hair queers walking around in like, you know, Wichita, Idaho, 6 people per square mile.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Like, become the purple haired queer walking around in Idaho.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get hate crimes, but yeah, genuinely.
Obviously, yeah, do what you need to do for safety, but the more like we're out there and just existing and getting involved in these communities, like, the more people actually see us as human, and that's really important.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's going pretty well, in spite of everything. You know, it's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Are you here for the full?
I am here for the full event.
Wonderful.
I'll be canvassing out with other streamers tomorrow, and yeah, if you want to check out some of my other content, Nominal Naomi, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. Love you all, chat. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Like, really soon, probably. Like
Absolutely.
30 minutes, I suspect. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.